Hey guys, CDTVThaG here. The G, of course, stands for guy. I'm a guy. And today, in the second episode of my Backtrack series, where we look at albums that aren't necessarily old enough to be considered classic or golden age, but they're not necessarily new either, we're going to be reacting to Veteran by JPEGMAFIA, as this has been requested by quite a few people. I know absolutely nothing about JPEGMAFIA, I know nothing about this album, so it's an entirely new experience for me. Who knows, maybe I'll have an overwhelmingly negative reaction, maybe it'll be positive, maybe it'll be somewhere in the middle. There's some very interesting track titles on here, which is cool. I remember hearing something about this album though. I think there's a line about wanting a bitch like Mike Seatown, or with hair like Mike Seatown on here or something like that, which I think is hilarious. But that's the only thing I've heard about this. So let's get into track 1 straight away. 1539 N Calvert. Just by his name in these titles, I'm expecting things to be quite experimental or different on here. That's definitely something I'm expecting.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's a nice beat. It's got heavy kicks. Alright, it's taking a while to start, but...
I need all my bitches same color as Drake. If they
okay.
then they get rocked. Put that Pyrex in the pot. I don't give a fuck if you out there in a six, suck a dick. Pussy boy, you getting hit with the and I'm real Peggy got no fur. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Jugger not coming in vans. Hey, gun do not come in no plan. Hey.
Ooh.
Backtrack. Hey. Crackers never get a pathway. I need a bitch with long hair like Mike Seatown. Yeah.
There is the Mike Seatown lyric. I love that.
Take a tree, I'm a backwood. Made the beat cause I'm that good.
Oh, he made the beat. Nice. Knowing that he made the beat for this track makes me respect him even more, because the beat was definitely different, had some, like I said, experimental elements to it, which is always a good thing. I mean, not always a good thing. Experimentation's hard to get right, but he got it right on this track. Good start. We're off to a good start. I like that track. Like I said, the kicks really had a lot of impact to them. Usually when you have kicks with that much impact and when the kicks are that loud, usually the beat is a bit darker. It'll have a darker melody, a more sinister vibe, but this one didn't. It was actually more of a kind of upbeat sounding song. I like his voice. His flows were good here. He's got some funny lines, which is something I can really appreciate. I need all my bitches, same color as Drake. Let's see if I can continue my praise throughout this album with the next track, which I'm not even sure if I could say the name of without some people getting offended. I'm just gonna call it Real Neba, because even if it's not the word, some people will get offended, and I can't deal with that. Oh my god. That is wild. Is that an ODB sample, man? It sounds like his voice. He can flow, though. Oh, Mankind reference, nice. That is one of the most interesting uses of a sample I've ever heard. Those drums are absolutely mental. I'm definitely gonna give him points for a creative use of a sample there, not necessarily a sample that many people would choose to use. So I'll give him points for the uniqueness of it, but personally, I didn't like it because I guess the song is kind of like an ode to ODB, but I found it really kind of irritating. Just having that noise constantly going on in the background. It was all I could really focus on. I would kind of describe it as like a mosquito. You know, it's just a noise that's just there and you can't get rid of it. And that's no disrespect to ODB, it's just the way the sample was used. The funny lyrics are still there, his cadences are very nice, but that track was something that didn't appeal to me. Next up we have track number 3, Thug Tears. That doesn't sound like him, man. Obviously I haven't heard much of him, but that singing is nice. Bruh. 3 tracks in and his creativity is just like shining through. When you try and experiment with instrumentals, the way you deliver your vocals, you really run the risk of it sounding random, but so far JPEG has hit it perfectly, you know? The experimentation sounds like it makes sense. It all sounds really good. There was a lot of random sounds coming through in the instrumental there, but it somehow enhanced the track, and I'm not sure if it's something I can really explain. It's kind of hard to explain what good experimentation is and what bad experimentation is. It's just something that you can hear, you know? If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. And I'm liking this so far. The switches between the singing flows and the rapping flows are great. The random kind of grimy and gritty sounds that come through on the beat are really cool as well. Track number 4, we have Dayum. This beat just feels like it's all around me. That interesting short little track that was only like I think just over a minute long. I'm not really sure if that's just kind of like a little interlude or like a bridge into the next track or something like that. Really don't have much to say about that track. It was cool, very atmospheric. That's all I can say. So let's move straight on to track number 5, titled Baby I'm Bleeding. The song started, so I paused it for a second so I'm not just talking over it, but I'm wondering how long it takes him to make his beats, because like I said, I don't know the first thing about production. This sounds like it would be something that takes a long time to kind of mix, master, program and all that. Like I said, I don't know, but it sounds like something he's spending a lot of time on.
Peggy, where you been at? Getting all this promo. When it comes to money, bet these niggas is a no-show. Oh, I'm up in Brownsville, strapped with a Kimber. All you yuppie persons get swiped like Tinder. Now I'm at the White House.
This man knows his way around some drums, god damn.
Fuck these niggas. Fuck these niggas.
Some aggression here.
It's ironic you press for a cooking.
Slowing down a bit.
Time, but you ain't never seen no central booking. Yeah.
Oh.
It's ironic you hang with a nigga that beat women and have the nerve to call yourself a girl pusher. Wow.
I don't know if he's talking about anyone specific or if he's just being general with those lines, but there's a lot of people in rap that could apply to. It's weird because I was about to bring up the same criticism I brought up for the track Real Neba, with the sample being kind of irritating in a way, but honestly I feel like his rapping on this track helped me get past it, because I really vibed with what he was saying on here. How he said it was really good. I loved the aggression on the first verse, and then it was really fitting when he slowed it down on the second. You know, he mentions a few things, you know, about certain rappers here, talking about SoundCloud rappers. I'm assuming he's talking about rappers that also beat women on here. You know, people that talk about doing time in jail when they've never actually lived through that. Interesting content on this track, and that's something I really like. Track number 6, one of the ones with the more interesting tracks. It's called My Thoughts on Neogaf Dying. The track is called My Thoughts on Neogaf Dying, and the hook is just him saying, I don't care. Beautifully put together.
I don't care about the cars, I don't care about your flash, I don't care about your bank, I don't care about your fees.
Definitely not a standout track on here. Again, not really something I would say I hated, but I feel like with that one, it just felt like it never really got going. Maybe it's because of the length, but I don't think it was purely that, because there's a lot of songs that are under 2 minutes that feel like they really went somewhere. With this track, I don't really feel like it particularly did much in its runtime. That's just how I feel about it, you know? I think I'll go ahead and say that's my least favorite on the album so far. Let's go on to track number 7, Rock and Roll is Dead. I found a good way to describe it. It's like organized chaos, the way he makes his beats.
Bitch, I'm coming to your house. Let's get freaky with the strap, man. We don't fuck with all right.
Okay.
Been a threat. If y'all come to Baltimore, we gon' stick a fucking racks. I say that pussy's off the Richter. No shitter. I fuck that shit. Fuck your babysitter. I hit her. How many cars does it take to make this shit easy?
His singing is great too, man. I've not finished the album, so I might be speaking a bit too early, but I think I'm becoming a fan. I hope he has more tracks with his singing on this. Brilliant stuff here. I especially like the second half where the melody switched into this kind of more ethereal sound. It was really nice. So now that we're 7 tracks in, I think I'm kind of getting used to the sound of the album, and I feel like I can stop commenting on how experimental the tracks are now, because I'm prepared for it. I'm ready. You know, 7 tracks in is where you really start to get a feel for an album, or at least with this one, that's how I'm feeling. So now that I'm used to the sound of it, it'll be interesting to see if the tracks can still pique my interest. So let's see if it does that as we move into track number 8, DD Form 214. Ooh, that sample's hitting me right in the musical orgasm centers. I take it that's Bobbi Rush who this track features, which I forgot to mention, but very smooth.
I'm doing favors for petty pay. Run through the track like I'm Circle A. All of this pain that I feel inside. Maybe it's good to be shitting me. I get the ratchet and clank. I whip that ass like Sasha Banks. I whip your ass like I'm Bruce Wayne with the...
Take it is quite the wrestling fan. I'm clocking a lot of references here. Another nice track and something that did kind of switch from what I've came to expect from the album, which is interesting considering I mentioned it in the last track. The feature Bobbi Rush did a great job with their vocals. They were so like silky, and it's interesting to hear that contrasted by the type of instrumental I had here. Whilst the instrumental was more subdued, it still had some really kind of awkward in a good way and quirkiness to it, you know. And one thing again I'm really enjoying is all the references he makes to different people. It's always entertaining, so hopefully there's more of those to come because they're great. A cool song and one that I definitely think could have been the title track of the album. Still going strong, we're on to track number 9, which is titled Germs.
Off top, bitch, I'm rolling.
Okay.
Can't stay focused, I'm hopeless.
Definitely a more minimal instrumental here.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Oh, beat switch.
No shade at all, baby. Look, bitch, I got the sauce and it's whopped up. Stocks up, I'ma slip and shoot a cop up. Not us, I'ma make him put his guard up. Better body, fresh prints, no prints.
I'm liking this second beat and verse. Ooh. Then a little beat to close us out. Damn. That was really good. Like I said, the instrumental was really minimal on there, but that's not a negative in this case. My favorite part was the second verse. That shit was just, it was bouncy, man. It had me moving. What this album is making me realize is that even though I say, and I definitely do think that I listen to like quite a wide variety of rap, from mainstream stuff to underground stuff to whatever, this album does make me realize that I actually haven't listened to that much experimental hip-hop. I'm not sure if there's a lot of other albums that sound like this, but this is the first album I've kind of heard that does sound like this. Not only is it a really good album, but maybe that's why it's hitting me even harder. Track number 10, another interesting title, we have Libtard Anthem, featuring Freaky. 1 minute 20 seconds, we got a short ass song here. Oh. Right then, that was interesting track, very short. No appearances from JPEGMAFIA on there, obviously, except for the production. It was entirely Freaky rapping there. As you can tell, I'm not American. I'm not very proficient in American politics. I don't keep up with it. So, you know, tracks about, you know, liberalism, whatever, and talking about Tommy Lahren and all this kind of stuff, it's not really something I'm that familiar with. So the track's content didn't really connect with me. Obviously, I kind of get what it's going for, but there's lines that I don't fully understand or don't fully get the impact of. So, let's go to track number 11, Panic Emoji. Okay. Beat is nasty in the best way. I Am a Thought. That had one of my favorite beats on the entire album. Maybe my favorite beat so far. I loved the darkness of it. Oh, it's weird though. I'm just quickly looking on Rap Genius after I listened to the songs, just to see, you know, just to quickly read over the lyrics again. And there's a lot that I missed here, because at the start of the song, the lyrics weren't really that present, so I thought he was just kind of ad-libbing in the background. So I wasn't really listening closely to it, but I wish I heard it more, because He's saying some really kind of depressing and real shit at the start of this. I wish I heard more of that. I actually wish the vocals were louder, and maybe there's a reason behind them not being louder, but I didn't actually know who was rapping at the start of that track, so I didn't pick any of that up, and I wish I did. I still very much enjoy the song. That's just my main criticism of it. Probably, I think, the darkest song on the album so far. Track number 12, DJ Snitch Bitch Interlude.
Blood on my money, but ain't a stain on me. Nah, rich race, no games for me.
Like I said, that track was an interlude, so it was an incredibly short track. Not a lot to it, just a nice interlude. Not something that's particularly gonna stick with me because of the shortness of it. Not really too much to say on that. An okay track. So let's move on to track number 13. We have Whole Foods.
Apartment till I die, close the block, bitch. Mama told me, baby, use a rock. Pitchfork told me to never be abusive. Yes, I'm moving units. I see what the truth is.
Let me go back to that line. Pitchfork told me to never be abusive unless I'm moving units. So I'm assuming that's commenting on, obviously, the review website Pitchfork not reviewing abusive artists unless those artists are selling a hell of a lot and they can get publicity from reviewing it. I like the shots he's throwing on here because it's not like they're unfounded or just to start drama. It's legit things he's bringing up.
I'm out the window looking real stupid. Fuck that.
Much more mellow.
Conquers back for a day. Go to 9, hit him up. Perfect dark nigga for the job.
References are on point. That's another song where I can say I like the second half more than the first half because there was a lot of kind of heavier distortion than he's used so far on that first verse, which is something I've never been a fan of, but yet again it's something that I really like the lyrical content of. But I really like the second half where the rapping and the instrumental got a bit more laid back. This album's definitely something that's gonna stick with me, like 13 tracks in and it's already, interestingly, one of my favorite things that I've reacted to. But I don't know if this is an album I can listen to anytime, you know? I feel like it's something I need to be in the mood for. So, track number 14, we have a track titled after someone he referenced earlier in the album, Macaulay Culkin.
So, I got my hands on my face like Macaulay Culkin. I think I'm Rick and Morty. In the lab, I take precautions. Snipe them out, burn the body, stash the Glock, buy the coffin. Nasty, that whack shit ain't true to me. Fuck y'all niggas, I take the heat. Done shit.
Really loved the more kind of boom bap drums on there. The instrumental was just really solid. I liked the rapping, and it was basically just like a reference filled track. I might need to re-listen to confirm this, but so far I feel like no two tracks have sounded the same. There's a lot of albums where you'll have at least 2 or 3 tracks that are kind of like indistinguishable from each other, or just have too similar of a vibe. They sound too similar, the rapping is too similar, whatever, anything like that. 14 tracks in and I have not had that issue with a single track yet. Nearing into the kind of like the final stretch of the album, track number 15, Williamsburg.
Selling art to these yuppies getting mixed offers. I'm in New York like I'm Peter Parker. Go to 16, then I tossed it. If I wanted bullshit, I just read gone.
Nice. Ooh, Travis Scott vibe to this part. Vocal effects sound like a butterfly effect. Oh, maybe it's a sample from that, because Ice It Up, Ice It Like a Hockey Puck is from Butterfly Effect.
These fuck niggas ain't like that. Y'all niggas, y'all feel like rats all.
Dope stuff, man. If you guys know me, you'll know that I love Travis Scott's music, so I really appreciate the Butterfly Effect sample in there. It was a bit more of, like I said, a minimalistic, slower moving track. Not necessarily a negative. I quite enjoyed the song, just not one of my favorites so far. And one thing I'm noticing more and more throughout the album is the real bluntness in his lyrics. He's a very blunt guy, very upfront with what he's saying. Oh, I just read the title for track number 16. Perfectly fits what I was just saying about his bluntness. Track number 16. I cannot fucking wait until Morrissey dies.
Watch make you go cock down, rags make you walk outside, and you know I rock real diamonds, you ain't gotta look at them.
Sit your pale ass down at the pets. Yeah.
Another very short track here. I did like the instrumental on that one, like I said. It's just with a lot of these shorter tracks, I don't really know what to say about them because they kind of breeze by very fast. I guess I could just say it's an enjoyable song and leave it at that. So now on to the last 3 in the album. We have track number 17, Rainbow Six.
I don't give a shit, little nigga, you face cause it's full of the blood. Me, nigga,
What you niggas want?
Ooh. What a way to cut him off.
I'ma have to go and be the bad man. Maybe I'ma put him in his place.
The variety on this thing is ridiculous, man.
I don't make no music for these niggas. Say they wanna be a critic, but they cannot take no criticism. Nigga, we the junkies, they the dealers.
That's true. If you want to be a critic, you gotta be able to take criticism.
I don't wanna be alone.
Ooh.
It's so hard for me to trust you, baby.
Crazy thing is,
I'm around you.
this shows he could make mainstream music easily if he wanted to. This sounds... it sounds so clean. Man, that track just went everywhere and I love it. There was a lot of shit going on. You know, you had the intro from Young Midpack, who I thought was alright. Then you had JPEGMAFIA just cutting him off with that, like, screaming, which isn't for me, but it was energetic. The chorus, he just toned it down a notch. Killed it on his third verse. And that outro, man, that sounds fantastic. I love the versatility that he's shown throughout this thing. He's shown that he can pull off multiple different styles. Really good. So, now we're on the second last track. Track number 18, 1488. Very breezy vibe.
Yeah, damn.
That's a switch.
Game thirsty, piss same color as Logic. Boys act tough, I don't give no fucks. Shorty acting like Dex. Eat his ass.
So your piss is biracial?
I put the judge in the seat. I send that bitch to the beat. I heard she pray to Allah. Yeah, bitch, you praying to me. I do this shit for Khalif.
Dry, I'm out of weed, I'm irritable. I'm fucking nauseous, going crazy.
Ooh, getting a little Earl Sweatshirt vibes here. I think I could say that's another highlight song. Again, minus the screaming, because that's not for me, but I really like the comparisons he made with rappers in the first verses. Piss, same color as Logic. Hardy acting like Dex. Obviously, you know, famous Dex beat his girlfriend on camera. Beat his ass till he rusts. Well, here we are already at the end of the album. We're going into track 19 and the final track, which is titled Curb Stomp. And there we go. My first experience with JPEGMAFIA is complete. Honestly, I didn't really like that track that much. Not to say I think there was anything too wrong with it. It just wasn't very interesting to me. The delivery wasn't screaming like I expected it to be, and it really wasn't that loud or abrasive. Just not something that hugely interested me. But that's fine, because there's not many tracks that I dislike on this album. Overall thoughts on Veteran by JPEGMAFIA. First off, we're going to run through favourite tracks and least favourite tracks, as I always try to do at the end of these videos. Favourite tracks, probably, and it's kind of hard to remember all the ones I liked, you know, it's something I'm going to pick up more with each listen. But from what I can remember, favourites are 1539 and Calvert. Rock and Roll is Dead, I remember liking that. DD Form 214, maybe Panic Emoji. Like, I did have my criticisms of that track, but I still really like how it was done. Honestly, I can't even remember what my favourite tracks were because I liked so much of this. Least favourite tracks will be a bit easier to pick because I remember those. Real Neba, because of that sample, I guess I get what he was going for, but the sample of ODB there just annoyed me more than anything. I guess I could say Dayum was one of my least favourites because there just wasn't much to it. My thoughts on Neogaf dying and Curb Stomp. So this is an album that made me realise I'm not really that well versed in experimental hip hop, because this is something that sounds like nothing I have heard before. You know, maybe even after I listen to more experimental hip hop, this will still sound like nothing I've heard before. If you've listened to a lot of it, let me know in the comments below if this is very different from a lot of it. Regardless, I find JPEGMAFIA to be a very unique personality, someone that's funny, he's got witty lines, very self-aware, is not afraid to criticize himself and show his more vulnerable side. Got hilarious comparisons, a lot of references. One thing I will point out that I think made this album connect with me a little bit less was the fact that from the lyrics, a lot of the lyrics and the titles, I could tell that a lot of it's focused on a lot of political stuff in America. And like I said, that's something I'm not really well versed in. A lot of them I can get the gist of what he's saying. I don't really fully understand what he's talking about. And I feel like if I did, it would have more impact on me. I'm just very happy to have found another artist that I really like through this reaction series. This is definitely one of my favorite albums that I've reacted to. I like how weird his production is, but not being too random to the point of just being, you know, nonsensical. Overall, from a sound perspective, I think he blends stuff really interestingly. Like I mentioned on a lot of the tracks, I really like the way he programs his drums. Honestly, I think if he wanted to, he could make mainstream music and it would sound nice because his flows are on point. He uses flows that are very easy to listen to. His singing is good. He can do singing well. He can use auto-tune well. You know, he can do the shouting, aggression. He can do a laid-back delivery. There's so many different vocal styles on here. Honestly, makes it quite a thrilling listen. This album is 19 songs, but honestly, there wasn't really a dull moment. Like, there were a few songs that didn't pull me in that much, but not anything that I would say was dull. Very impressed by this album. Definitely going to look at more of JPEGMAFIA's discography, and thank you to everyone who recommended this to me. So that is going to be it for this video today, guys. Let me know what you think of Veteran by JPEGMAFIA in the comments below. If you enjoyed it as much as I found myself to be enjoying it. Let me know if there's any other albums you would like me to react to in this Backtrack series. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more reactions like this. Leave a like, of course, if you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys all in the next one. This is a very happy CDTVThaG signing out.